And I remember being on stage, and I did like the last little ending pose or something, and I could see my family in the back like laughing, and I remember being like, this is the best moment of my entire life. And I think from then on, I was like, I have to do this all the time. Like, just the energy that I felt in the room that day was like so addictive.
That's
it was
so
just,
cool that you remember that. Is it just me, or is everyone getting babies right now? Or is this an age thing?
Oh, it's totally our age.
Yeah, I have two friends
We're getting old.
Who both got babies in the last 2 weeks. Like two couple friends that was at being and they both had babies in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, as we're saying this, my friends are on their way to the hospital.
No way.
They're getting induced today. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, and by the way, I think Justin Bieber's having a child this weekend.
Well, that's what it is.
Everyone's moving towards baby. I think they're naming it Baby Plum. It's gonna be Plum Bieber.
Plum Bieber.
Yeah, that's gonna be the new kid.
Trying to see how I feel about that, but yeah, I guess
I
it'll
could be
settle
wrong,
in.
but
It'll settle
that's
in.
what they're
Well,
saying.
that's exciting. Are you thinking about? You want to be a dad one day?
You know, it's funny. Like, I never wanted to be. Well, first of all, I never wanted to settle down. I never wanted to get married, and I definitely never wanted to have kids. And then I met Camila, and it was like, do I want to be a dad? I don't know, but I definitely want to be like the father to her kid, right? So then that became the first time I was like, oh, I actually do want to be a father as long as she's the mother.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. That's and this is not a spoiler because she probably will not be seeing this.
That's
probably
fine.
when she sees this, you will be engaged. But Jesse is you're proposing in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Can you believe it? I mean, it's just I'm absolutely terrified. Send prayers. But
you got it. It's easy.
It's not the proposal. A part of it is like like as a producer, I hate signing contracts. Right? Like I hate it. So like, and I hate like when my agent is like, hey, like, this is a 2-year contract. You're going to be exclusive to this studio or to this. I think of 2 years and I can't possibly commit 2 years of anything of my life to a studio. So the idea of a forever contract is just absolutely horrifying.
Oh, so special though.
Yeah. Well, you did it.
I did it. Yeah. 2 years ago, got married about a year ago.
But you seem like
now we're thinking about kids.
Oh my gosh. Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Like you seem like happy, healthy, like total domesticated father, like takes them on camping trips.
I always wanted to be like, I had a really difficult relationship with my dad. So I think, have you seen Hook, the Spielberg movie Hook? It's like even Spielberg says he doesn't like it or something like that, but I like it, and it's all about Peter Pan getting older and becoming a father. And yes. That movie always got like there's something about becoming a father that recontextualizes your own childhood. So I'm not to say I want to put my childhood trauma on my own kids, but I think there's an aspect of like, I think becoming a father and sort of maybe then through it healing my own relationship with my own father that I'm really excited about.
Bruce Springsteen did a one-man show on Broadway, and one of the songs is about when he went to go visit his father, and he said, your parents either become ghosts that haunt you, or ghosts you can live with.
Oh.
And he went to go meet his father that day, so his father could become a ghost he could live with, which I thought was beautiful.
That's beautiful. A little dark, beautiful.
Yeah. Well, speaking of dark, the exact opposite of that is probably
exactly. Great segue. I was gonna what's not dark? Our guest today.
Yelena Friedman is not dark.
I'm really excited about Yelena. Finding Jesse's from the sort of traditional world. I'm from the new media world. So today's guest is gonna be from the new media world, and I'm excited about her because she's someone who's been doing I think for a few years now, and I think only in the last year or so has she really sort of become on the internet who she is, and sort of really sort of nailed her brand and is in the process really of figuring out sort of her business and her trajectory and her career. She started on TikTok and she's still, very active on TikTok. And I know because she's a friend of mine, I know she's very excited about this new, going on YouTube. So what I'm really excited about today to sort of get into is sort of for anyone who's thinking about TikTok or YouTube or digital content, creation as a career, she has all the answers because she's doing it right now. She's still kind of fresh in it, right? She's and sort of hearing from her, I think about the pitfalls and the realities of it. Because I think you will be surprised how unglamorous a lot of it is, even when you have millions of followers, which she does have. It's still a hustle and a grind, and I'm kind of excited to get into it.
I have so many questions.
Let's go.
Let's do it. What's up, guys? I am Jesse,
Hello, and I'm Vijay.
and you're watching What is Hollywood? This is a podcast about,
Building careers in the entertainment industry.
and
Yeah.
just kind of the inner workings between linear and the new media and all the fun stuff that comes with it.
And today on the show, we have a dear friend of mine, someone I don't remember when we met, but we met a while ago and we made videos together. Her name is Yelena Friedman, and she is, if you open up TikTok these days, you've probably seen her on your FYP. She makes comedy sketches. She has over 1 million on TikTok, and definitely, I remember seeing your videos way before I met you.
Oh, really?
And being very impressed by your your sense of comedy and the way you make things and that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited to have you on the show today to talk about yourself and your experiences.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
What is FYT?
FYP.
What is FYP?
Oh, okay. Let's start with the basics. So FYP is something that TikTok started, right? Mm-hmm. Which is for you page. So it's
it's for you. It's like content that's for you. Like the algorithm is like, eat it. This is for you.
Noted.
Yeah.
Right,
Got
so
it.
like YouTube
Got
before
it.
that would be like your homepage, and then they would try to curate videos that but with the whole swiping thing is like, here's the FYP page, and it's just giving you stuff that algorithmically they think you like.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was a sort of innovation that made TikTok.
Yeah.
I love that. And you were for Vijay, like you popped up on.
Yeah, you
Yes,
popped up in my
so.
stuff way before I knew you.
That's so
And then
crazy.
how did we meet? I forget how we met.
You actually followed me on. I think you had been following me, and then I think maybe I followed you back.
And
I got like
that's
a
how
DM
it is.
from you
And
asking to be
that's
in.
how it often happens. People follow each other, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a fan
And it
of
was like,
yours, and it's
what
like,
do we do together?
Yeah.
Yeah, my business, it's like, great, here's my agent's email.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Yeah.
we don't have that yet. Not that much. So Yelena, tell us a little bit about, I think a lot of people would love to do what you're doing today and build what you're building today. Like, tell us about how you got into making videos in the first place. Was it on purpose? Did you always want to be entertainment? Like, tell us how you got to sort of where you are now.
Okay, so from like a young age, I always wanted to act, and I always just love telling this little story. So when I was in 3rd grade, I did my first school show, and I played this little singing and dancing leprechaun, and
So on brand. You have no
I know
idea.
it's so Portland. And in the show, it was like I was singing and dancing, and I was a leprechaun, and I was supposed to get married, but then I didn't want to get married, and I had this whole song and dance number, and then at the very end, they're like, "And you get married," and I'm like, "No," and the audience is like, "Ah," and I remember being on stage, and I did the last little ending pose or something, and I could see my family in the back laughing, and I remember being like, this is the best moment of my entire life. And I think from then on, I was like, I have to do this all the time. Just the energy that I felt in the room that day was so addictive.
That's
It was
so
just,
cool that you remember that.
I it's yesterday. It was just this beautiful moment where I was just like, that's why I want to act. I was like, if I can feel something and I can make people feel, I want to do that. And I think when I got older, I was always I was drama club president. I was always doing school shows and stuff. But specifically with TikTok, at the time I was living in New York, and I was just I had a kind of dumb idea, and it's so funny. I think because I had a completely separate TikTok account in New York.
What time was that? How many years ago was it?
This is pre-COVID. This was probably 2018 or 2019.
So that's when you first started dabbling with content.
Yes. And I had this really dumb video idea that was it was something along the lines of POV, you're Megan Trainor in the future, and you're singing a lullaby to your kid. And I was singing that I'm all about that bass, but it was that booty booty, that booty booty. And it was the first video that did well on that account. And then I was like, oh wait, TikTok's kind of fun. This is cool. And I started just doing it more. But then during quarantine, I had very Disney-like characters. I had this one character called Gazelle that I made up, and she was just this annoying popular girl or whatever. And people just really liked that character for some reason. I think it's just because she was just such a stereotype and so weird and so different that it just ended up doing really well.
Wait, but did you design her, or did you just make it out and then
It
you
was
called
just
her?
a character,
It was
you
a
know what I
character,
mean?
just something you did just for fun.
Yeah, it was just at the time, still I was just doing videos for fun, just having a good time with it. And weirdly enough, this agency that had said no to me like 4 years prior, once my videos started doing well, they were like, hey, we remember you. Like, we'll sign you right now if you come to LA because, like, we've seen your work now. And, like, yeah. And that's what got me out here, which is crazy to think about.
Is that your current agency?
Yes, I'm still with them.
Who is it?
CSD.
Oh, Cunningham, Escott, Slevin, and Doherty.
But
Oh,
of course.
that's a mouthful right there.
I did not know that it was. Yeah.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that at all.
Wait, okay, so let's go back because I think I really like to sort of talk to you more about sort of like, so you started making videos for sort of fun. Did you post like for fun? Did you like, because I think was for fun once a week, was for fun once a month, like like were you more focused on trying to get auditions, or at what point like how did it start for you being like, oh wow, I can like this is actually gaining some traction and I want to play this game and I want to focus on this?
I think with like the characters that I was doing during quarantine was the first time that I was like, oh, this is like doing really well. I was like, it was just cool because it was like the first time that I was like getting DMs from people or this or that, just being like, oh, I like this character. But I think, how do I put this? TikTok for me has always been a little bit of like a means to an end. Like even at the beginning when things like started going really well, it was like like my whole life I've loved making skits, I've loved being silly, but it was always like I think there was this hope of being like, I hope that I can use this to like transition into more acting and this and that. But I never had to like give up when it's like I never like didn't do auditions or this or that. It was always just like whenever I had an idea, I'd be like, oh, let me make a video and like have fun with it. So yeah.
I want to talk to you about that transition that you're talking about, or like that kind of means to an end. But before we get to that, how long did it take you to sort of, go from like, oh, post for fun to like, whoa, feeling like you needed to post, or you like this is your job now? Like, how long did it go for? Like, how long did it take you to sort of get past that initial hump?
I'd say it's hard because I feel like in a lot of ways I got a little lucky because. So the first TikTok I had with all those like characters that got me out here, I stopped doing TikTok completely. And for me, I was like, this isn't fun anymore. Like I was getting really stressed out and I have a lot of anxiety. So it was just like, I just stopped doing it. And
what was stressing you out? Was the negative comments or what was stressing?
I remember I had like specifically one really, really weird incident that happened that I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like I don't want to be on social media. And then I say lucky is because like my dad is always like he always said lightning, doesn't strike twice. And I kind of feel like I got lucky because it kind of did, because that account did pretty good, which got me out here. Then I stopped doing it. And then all of a sudden when I was like, 3 years or 2 years later living out here, I had like some silly idea to have like my tote bag or something and pretend like, I don't know, to get robbed or something and then give someone a note or a hug. And
remember that video?
Yeah, and it was like the first Note Girl video, and I didn't have notifications on TikTok at that time, so I didn't like, I just put it out into the world, and then 3 days later, like all my friends and like my cousins were like, oh my God, this is crazy, like, did you know that this was blowing up? And I was like, no, and I remember it just like hit, and I think that's why I say that I got lucky, is like I was able to step away from it, come back with this random idea years later that just ended up being something that did really well at the time, and I was able to kind of like continue off that energy.
So that video sort of, oh, let me take this a little more seriously now and kind of go for it.
Yeah.
And then why did you start another channel? Like why not continue with the original account, that one that you had before?
I think like that was actually a mistake on my part. Like I really do think that I should have done that. I had this weird kind of like superstition with myself where I thought that like that account just wouldn't do well anymore, or that I don't know. I think something that I struggle with now is I often second guess myself a lot with just like social media or posting or this or that or anything like that. So I think I didn't do it because at the time I was like, well, do I just post funny stuff or do I actually try and make stuff like, and so I just wanted to focus on the one account and be like, okay, I'm just going to build this out and see what happens with just the one.
And when you started taking seriously with TikTok, so this is like maybe like during the pandemic, you said, like, right when you started posting, did you start posting like, was it like, once you sort of realized and it clicked for you, was it like, did you post once a week? Did you post once a day, every few days? Like, how did you sort of like did you do that? How did you build that, initial thing?
It's, I have like how do I put this? Like, I become a little obsessive with certain things. So it's like, once it started doing well, my little brain was like, I have to maintain this. Like, I have to do everything that I can to, like, and I remember, like, it almost sounds dumb because it's TikTok, but like, I wouldn't sleep. Like, I remember I would like wake up and be like, okay, I'll do this for a video. And I would just have a list of like ongoing things that I was like, okay, and then I'll shoot this and then I'll shoot this. Cause I think once it started being more real, I was like, I need to prove that I can not just like once blow up, like that I can like consistently make something. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just like became this, like, I would say that I was posting a couple times a week, maybe like once or twice a week, maybe 3 times. But it got to a point where it was like, I was posting every other day. And if I didn't post every other day, I would be like, oh, I'm not working hard enough. Why am I even here?
This is a very common thing among content creators. Like,
Yeah.
this is like, it's like, and also some of these platforms, like they're almost designed, like TikTok, designed to be gamifying it, right? So
Totally.
it's like that same experience when you have a game, you're trying to problem solve, like, how can I do this, right? And then you think of the algorithm of a way, like, how can I do this? How can I kind of twist this around so that it kind of gets a further reach on the FYP page and that kind of stuff, So it's a very common thing that I've seen in creators where you start like, it's stressful.
Yeah.
Because it's like being in production all the time, for like months on end,
And could we go back a little bit? Because so basically, you start posting 3 times a week. How long ago would you say?
This was more than a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
So you start 2018, you have the hit, incident happens, you go off socials, you sign with the agency, you're now living in LA. For 2 years, you don't post. During that time, you're doing traditional acting, going on auditions,
just doing my acting
doing
class,
the acting classes.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Are you feeling a gap of I'm unfulfilled? I'm not sharing my art?
I honestly no, I didn't really. I think had I been on social media at that time, it wouldn't have been good. Like, I don't think I would have been making, like, I think the reason that like my stuff when I came back to it started doing good too is because I liked what I was doing. Like, I had the drive at that time to be like, oh, this is fun for me. Like, I'm having fun creating these characters or like these weird little like scenarios. So I think that was kind of what made the difference, because the time that I took off from doing it, like, I think was time needed.
And were you working a job in between the...
Oh, yeah.
What were you doing?
So for years, like when I was in New York and also when I first moved here, I would work at restaurants and, I'd be a host or a server. And
the friendliest host or server.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, it was fun. I actually worked at Mendocino Farms over in, I think, the Studio City one. It's like next to the Trader Joe's.
I know exactly where it is, yeah.
Yeah, so I worked there, and it's like I would do that, and I would just kind of have like these funny little thoughts, and I'd be like, oh, maybe I should go do this, or maybe I should make a video, and then I'd be like, no, it's okay. But when things started, like, doing a little bit better, I didn't work there, but I worked in restaurants for years, and I worked there for, like, I'd say probably almost a year before the videos started doing well.
And
Go ahead, no, please,
cannibalizing the conversation, but
No,
I'm
no, I
so
love
curious
this.
because
This
like,
is I love the question because obviously, like, I've been through the same thing, so I'm kind of curious about your questions, to be honest.
yeah, like for me, I don't understand. What I'm trying to learn more about is like,
Where's the money? No, I'm kidding.
How do I find that? Yeah. Who's hiding it?
Do you do it for fun?
Yeah, he's
But
like,
it's partially that. Like, I'm sitting there and going, okay, so maybe $3,000 a month coming in from Mendocino. So like, what was the price point where you went, oh, okay,
I knew
like,
you were gonna ask that. So
this
funny.
is the number these are the amount of followers or these are the amount of views where I can
see.
go, oh, okay, I can no longer, it actually hurts me to be spending 8 hours at Mendocino than it does here,
I mean, I think it wasn't even like that for me. It was like I was working there, everything was good and whatever, and then it just like, I quit for like different reasons than like just social media stuff. But there have been countless times, and I still feel this to this day, where I'm like, this could go away. Social media, like all this could go away, and I will have no money, and I will leave, and I will not be able to live in California. And like, I think especially right when I quit, because again, it wasn't for social media necessarily. Like, I remember being like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? But again, it was just like, it was all just kind of weird domino effect timing where it was just like, things started going well. And I would say that what helped a little bit more is when, like, I think that it, I'm also lucky that I'm like repped, and I think that my reps helped me get deals a little quicker, because they were like, oh, we see that maybe like you're doing something now, maybe money is on the way, and I think they like jumped on that. And so I think having them helped a lot, because they were very much like, let's see what brands there are and this and that.
I love that. And I think just for people listening, right, the big thing is making sure that you have a product to sell. I think when you're talking about agents and managers, I feel this way in my world. It's like you have a writer who's got that one script they're super passionate about, but if it's just one script, how much money can a person can an agent make for you? Where if you have so many videos and they're constantly coming out, and you're going to keep building content and keep building the following, you need to be able to have a product for which somebody can sell. How would you describe your brand, right? Or how would you describe what you do?
That's like weird, because when I think of myself, it's just like, silly, goofy, easy, or like not easy, but like just like fun comedy. Like it's just very like, in a way, it's very like PG. It's very just bubbly. And I think that, as you said, like the persona was just like bubbly girl who's silly and does crazy things. But I will say, and I've always stuck by this, I think something that helped with my videos was I am not afraid to look really stupid, and I've made myself look really stupid a lot in my videos by doing just really weird things. And I think that there's something to that, to like just being like, I think this is funny. I don't care. Like, if people are going to comment and be like, why is she in a jacket in the closet? Like, why is she doing this? Why is she in a chicken costume? Like, why is she in her pool wearing an orca costume? Like, I just think that like that helped too, with just being like, whatever. Like, if I think this is funny, then I'll do it.
You made a choice.
Yeah.
Big choices.
I always say with casting, it's like so many talent can come in, and if you do like a down the middle audition, or if you're good at it, like that's great, but I don't remember that person. You remember the person who made a choice, whether you liked it, didn't like it.
Yeah.
You can identify that was a big choice.
And I think that's so interesting that you say that, because as an actor too, it's like you constantly like go in, you're like, I thought I made a choice, but I don't know if it was the right choice or if it was enough to have them like see that thing in me. And I think for me, why I wanted to pursue social media more was like, I obviously like I'm not like a famous actor or anything, but like I love acting more than anything. And I got really fed up with being like, I'm not booking, I'm not doing anything. Like, I need to make roles for myself, or make something for myself that shows that like I'm at least capable of like being on camera, like, or being seen, or this or that. And for me, it was like, I always loved Tina Fey. I always loved comedy and SNL. And it was like, I just wanted to, there's also like a thing with like, being like a little lady who does comedy. And I was just like, I wanted to kind of prove myself in a lot of ways and be like, you know what, if I'm not gonna like, because it would like, I know this sounds so bad, but like I would audition for so many things, or like so many sitcoms, and I would never hear back. And I'd always just be like, I promise, like, just give me a chance. And that was always like the worst feelings, being like, nobody's ever gonna give me a chance, or take a shot on me. And I got to a point where, and I still feel like I'm at this point where it's like you're still climbing all the time, but you're like, I'm going to prove to you that like I can do this. Like, regardless of if you cast me or not, I'll cast myself. Like, I will write something for myself. I will create something for myself. So, like,
God, I love
that I get to do the thing that I love to do. So, yeah.
I love that.
One of the things, when I started seeing you more on TikTok, there's two questions really, and I'd love for you to talk about really more. It's like, I think you designed your content very much for sort of the way the algorithm was, sort of like the speed of which, like, for example, you improvise a lot. I think I was asking about your process, and if you don't, like, I always assumed that it was highly scripted, but then like getting to know you a little better, it's like, no, she just like turns on the camera and funny shit starts happening, right? And that's how you were able to do stuff like very, very quickly and upload like minute-long videos and that kind of stuff. And at the same time, I remember sort of, I think I came across you and started studying you a little bit the way you were doing stuff is because TikTok was starting to sort of like prioritize longer videos that were over a minute long and that kind of stuff, which I think also might have helped. Do you feel like that helped you at the time a little bit? Because I feel like you were part of that wave that came, and your videos are like often, you would think TikToks are like 15, 20 seconds. Her videos are like a minute and 15 seconds.
Yeah, or like they verge on 2 minutes. Like I never actually really thought about that. I used to actually be like, oh, this is too long. People are not going to watch all of this. And then when people did watch all of it, I'd be like, that rocks. Like, because I'm just going to, like, I did the whole video. Like, you're going to hear silly things at the end too. But I think the 1 minute videos worked for me because I just would, like, as you would say, like improv, and it would just be a lot of talking and a lot of like, let's keep going until the joke's done. And I kind of think that's good, but also bad because there are certain videos which I think like could be so quick and easy that I don't think I always have like that good a grasp on that. And this is something that I did want to talk about for other people who might be wanting to be creators or anything. It's sucky and like really hard because like I'm at this point right now where it's like my ability to be like funny all the time or have to be on or have to be posting when, like, for instance, I had like family stuff going on this last month and like my own personal life. And there are so many times in my personal life where I'm like, I don't feel like being funny right now. But the sucky thing is a little bit being at this point where it's like, you have to be, because if that's what's paying the bills, like you have to post this many times. And like, I've been lacking recently because I just was like, there was like nothing's like, I'm not having like a groundbreaking funny idea. And it's hard because it's like, you have to, the people who make the most money are like, I think succeed the most are the people who are like, are consistently posting all the time and doing this. And there's obviously something to that, but it's really, really hard to do that and have a life and,
So you brought up money. How long did it take? Like, I'm assuming you're making a full-time living from this now, right? Like, like, can you, like, are you making any money from like the TikTok creativity beta program, or like, was your minutes, or like you're making a little bit, or is that like, can you give me a split between, if you can, like how much of the money you're making right now is through sort of like those kind of like, TikTok has a program called Creativity Beta, is that what it's called?
Something like that.
And for videos that are over a minute long, they actually pay you for viewership. I don't exactly know how it works. It's still it's a beta program, right? My experience with it has been awful. Like, I will write original songs and they'll be like, this is not original. And they will demonetize it.
They'll do some weird
things. They will
it's
a little weird, right? So obviously TikTok is a great platform to get discovered, but a lot of creators like to get off the platform for obvious reasons. We'll get to that in a second because I know that's what you're trying to do as well. So, what's your split between, like, say, creativity program on TikTok and, like, brand deals? Like, how much of your income is either, or is like 50-50, or is it one more the other?
Definitely brand deals. I mean,
it's heavier on, like,
by far
90% brand deals?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
And it was totally flipped because at the beginning it was like the beta program was what I was making money from. And I remember that I was like, oh my God. I was like, I finally have, like, this is crazy. Because it's like, it's very rewarding to, like, get paid for the thing that you love to do. Like, that was like such a cool moment to be like, oh, what? But definitely like that, I think is like, yeah, it's definitely like brand deals. And the brand deals are fun too, because that's like a cool, exciting like thing, like partnership.
And if you talk more about your brand deals, like, you don't have to say exactly, but how much is a brand deal for you at 1.2 million what you are right now? Like, how much is a brand deal that you're still pulling?
Probably not as much as other people are making, like, or would think. Like, I don't want to say an exact number, but it's like,
give us a ball range.
It's enough that I can, like, feed my pets and live in my apartment.
But you're not getting like filthy rich.
I'm not.
You're not suddenly putting lots of investments or buying stuff.
No,
like, you're
I
still,
wish.
like,
Maybe one
you're
day.
still
But I think when I think of YouTube or TikTok or content creators, you guys have figured it out. What I would call is probably the democratization of creators, in the sense that, my business, you've got 160,000 SAG actors. 87% of them did not meet the minimums to pay for their health insurance, right? So they're making less than $15,000 a year, right? And when you look at YouTubers or content creators, you're not making a huge amount of money where, you know, the folks that are in SAG-AFTRA that are meeting the minimums, they're making a lot of money. But most of them are making very little to none. Where I think YouTube and TikTok, and I could be wrong, but I believe you guys have, when I look at the numbers of it, you have more people making over $100,000 in that medium, which is a livable, better than livable situation. And there's more people able to meet that mark in your business than in my business. And I think that that's a really healthy, good thing. But where I think the damage comes from is unless you're beast or at the absolute 0.01%, there's too much leverage sitting with TikTok itself or YouTube itself, where you have agents on my side who can negotiate with Paramount and go, I'm going to audit you and you're going to pay me back everything that I get. You can't audit TikTok as a creator and go, like if they say what you said about your original song not being...
Yeah. Which, you know, like I think what you're saying, I think is a great segue to what I'd like to talk to you about next, which is YouTube, right? Because YouTube offers a lot more transparency there and has always been a very good platform. I mean, I'm a very, you know, like I've gotten to the point where with TikTok, I kind of was hoping TikTok was going to be banned. You know, like I was like, oh, I don't really care.
Oh,
you know,
no,
like,
yeah.
it's just it'll be less stressful for me to have to not post there, right?
But you're fortunate that most of your following's on a YouTube, where some content creators were like, if you get famous on TikTok, then is it hard to move your TikTokers to
talk about
YouTube?
that, because like this is a great segue, because like YouTube is you know, like just to sort of give context, everyone's rushing to YouTube right now because, and I really think rushing to YouTube right now because YouTube is trying to, and has always done a very good job at this, figuring out how to create what is now called the creator economy. You know, YouTube started that with like George Stroumboulous, you know, who started who you know started the YouTube Partner Program back in the day, and people like that who like were really sort of like pioneers in realizing, you know, this is not just about entertainment. This is also about creating a new class of entertainment people, you know, content creators. So YouTube is sort of, you know, in my experience, sort of barreled down on that, right? So like even with like TikTok Shorts, right? They have a Shorts fund, and you know, like we're doing Shorts pay really well, actually. You know, like maybe not as well as long form videos, you know, and we'll get that in a second, but it's become like it's become a place where people want to go. Like everyone wants to have now a YouTube channel. And I think you were in the same spot, right? Where you're sort of like, and is it, I would love to hear about your experiences. And before that, is it because the stability of YouTube, the sort of financials is that what's attracting you?
I think it's, for me personally, it's more like because again, I've kind of always thought TikTok was like a means to an end. Like I always had this hope where it's like, you know, maybe SNL will see my TikTok one day and they'll be like, oh, she makes her own sketches. And so for YouTube, it's more just like similar to what I kind of said earlier, where it's like how do I phrase this? There are moments where it's like, now I'm in a place where it's like, I want to be on YouTube because it's like, I want to prove that I can make long form. Like I want to prove that I can write out scripts. Like I want to prove that I can make characters that aren't just me, that are like fully whatever. And like, so it's more that for me than
than
money or like,
stability.
yeah, it's more just like, I want to like show that I can do more than TikTok.
Fantastic.
And you haven't launched your YouTube channel yet, or have you launched it yet?
No, not yet.
Got it. And what's your
videos
like? Just tell us about that. So are you doing what you did on TikTok, just longer? Like, what do you think?
No, it's just like it's gonna be like full sketches. Like if you like, you know, watch like I Think You Should Leave or even SNL digital shorts, like stuff like that, where it's just like a couple minutes of like a actual sketch with like, you know, people
and you're writing it all, and you're hiring crew and talent and everything like that. That's
wow.
That's it's sorry, this is me getting really nerdy about it, but like you know, like it's almost like a little television production, right? You know, it's like I always have a feeling YouTube is kind of going the television route, and like, you know, and where it's like there are people being hired for stuff, and it's like an actual little creator economy, and YouTube,
that's the point. Like that's why I want to do it. Is again, like if no one's gonna hire me, if no one's gonna book me, like I will make it myself. Like, and even like something I've had to kind of sit with is I'm like, there's a huge possibility, because I'm not really on YouTube, that like I get on, it doesn't do that well in my videos, and it's kind of like I had to think about it for a while, and I was like, if like I'm at this point where I'd rather completely try than not do it, because like again, it's hard, to be on social media because it's like I came here to be an actor. Like I came here to write and like create stuff. And like I have to kind of be at this point where it's like, will that maybe get me the most followers? Probably not, but I also didn't come here to be the biggest like what TikTok star or anything. Like I came here because I love acting.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like we had Nora May on the show who represents a lot of those SNL folks, right? And it's like, you think about if you create it, if the intention was never to be a content creator, right? And the intention was, well, okay, I'm going to make these materials, and it gets you to that level where you're attracting the CAAs or WMEs or the people that represent a lot of these folks on these SNLs, then that is the goal. And I think the one thing that I think is really interesting is like, can you at an early age, either as a content creator or just as an artist, for whatever your passion is, clearly define the goal and then back end your decision making into what that end goal is? Because she's rushing to YouTube for a reason that you're not, or that we're not, or whatever. And I think that as long as you know what your North Star is, it's a really easier way to kind of deal with the checks and balances that come from the repercussions of it working or it not working.
Do you still feel like like TikTok and YouTube is sort of like an ends to a means to an end? Like, or like maybe we just talk about like trends. You go on auditions now, right? Does having your audience help you? Like, does that sort of open doors you didn't have before? Like, is that sort of actually working as a means to an end?
I'm like trying to think. I've had like, I'd say only a couple of auditions where they've been like, oh, I had one that was like, oh, your girl got so close. And I was like, it was like they wanted like someone on social media, and they like, believe it or not, it was like for a very bubbly person or whatever. And it was for like this commercial that was going to be like an ongoing thing. And like, so, but it's very.
Oh, those are delicious.
Yeah, I know. I was like, it would have been kind of like a flow from Progressive kind of a thing. But I was like, stuff like that has only happened, I'd say, like maybe 3 times, where they're just like, and it'll be like very random auditions. Like, we are specifically looking for this and this and this, and they have to have this amount of followers, and they have to blah, 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 blah. But like, not really. I wouldn't say that.
That's interesting.
Well, it's weird because I do think life-wise, it's like opened some doors just with like more of the people that like I meet or this or that.
The
like
community, yeah.
Yeah, and I think like, if anything, I'm much more thankful for that than maybe like booking like a commercial right now. Because it's like, I'd rather maybe meet and get involved more with a community of people that I can grow with than have like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying that because I'm bummed that I didn't book that commercial. but like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's yes and no is my answer.
Do you look at, like, for example, I've worked with King Batch, right? Who originally was a Vine guy who then went into traditional.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff.
Fine.
Do you try to mirror like, for example, would you look at Batch's trajectory as like, okay, here's how he did it, and then he made the jump, and do you try to mirror what he did, or do you have people that you or artists that come from your world that have made the jump that you try to mirror what they're doing, or are you just saying I'm paving my own path and we'll figure out what that looks like?
No, definitely. Like I love Please Do Not Destroy. Like, they're on SNL. They make like the digital shorts and everything. Like, and I remember I saw them first on TikTok, and I was like, oh my God, I love them. And like, they also do YouTube videos and this and that. And like, they were a really big inspiration to me because like, it was just so cool to like be like, oh, I watched them and I saw their YouTube stuff, and all of a sudden now they're like on SNL and they're like making like all these crazy skits. And so yes, like there are certain things that I think I'm trying to like keep in mind moving forward, of being like, okay, this worked for this person, but it's also hard, like it's, everyone has, different paths and different things that I think help and like are, or like, how do I phrase this? Like some things I think are like help other people. Well, do you know what I mean? I'm like, that was word vomit. It made sense in my head. I'm like, that might have not been words. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's just because something worked for one person doesn't mean it's worked to the other person. And then one thing that I will say too, it's like, you know, I love working with creators, especially like you know, people who are in front of the camera, and I love casting them. Not only because obviously there's a collab opportunity and that kind of stuff, and we also rise together, but also there's something about going to acting classes, and there's something also about just going out there and acting. And putting it out there, seeing how it's received, and iterating. You know, like there's something about doing it, like really doing it, and you have the opportunity to like really do it with like audiences who will give you feedback, and it will be harsh. You know, and harsher than any acting teachers you can imagine sometimes. You know, like and so like and obviously like you don't listen to everything, right? You have to eventually have a filter, right, where you sort of like, oh, this is actually constructive, and this is just someone who's angry and needs to talk to their therapist. You know, like that's like, or needs a therapist at all, you know. So that probably helped you a lot too, right? It's like I feel much more comfortable, you know, hiring you because I know you can do more than what you do on your one channel, but you were very practiced on that. Yeah, like you can deliver. Like I don't even have to worry about it because I know she's got it, you know, because she's done it over and over and over again, you know. And I feel like that's something that is maybe like an invisible benefit.
Yeah, removes
of doing it.
imposter syndrome.
Well, does it?
I think there is something.
Sorry, I keep disagreeing with you today.
No, I mean there's definitely something to it. Like, you know, it's like for instance, when I had an acting class in Oregon, like we would always do on camera stuff all the time, and it, like, you know, we would always do it because you'd have to get to a point where it's like the camera's not there, which I do think ended up, you know, helping me as I got older. Where it's like when I'm filming stuff, it feels like the camera's not there because it's just like it becomes kind of second nature. But with that being said, I also think it's really important to stay in classes, like, and to like, because it's like the same thing of like, you know, when you're consistently filming and working, like just always, if you can't like always be consistent, because like that's also expensive to like get cameras and this and that, and like, you know, so if you can't do that, do a class where you can, like, because I'm about to jump into another class right now because I'm like, I need to work on, like, there are certain skills that I need to work on and like hone in on, but I think there's a huge thing to just doing it. And like, that's why I love TikTok and all that stuff so much, is because it's like, yeah, I'm just on my phone. Like, you know, like the videos that blew up at the beginning, it was like, I literally went outside with my phone and it changed my life. And that's insane because that could happen to anyone. And so that's like a really cool and really, really awesome thing.
And that's what I'm personally so excited about. Like, I think that's why the next generation of filmmakers will be phenomenal, because they'll have all this practice. Like, there's this YouTube channel, shout out, I would love to meet them. They're kids. It's not really for me. I'm like, we sometimes feel weird watching them, but they're so well written. They're called Shiloh and Bros. They just made all the trades because they got signed with like CAA, something like that. And they're like a sister and her brothers, and it's like a family somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And they do these like crazy sketches based on video games and popular IP, that kind of stuff. But I'm like, wow, like this, like I'm gonna send you this because like there's a Wes Anderson quality to it, but like for kids. And I'm like, Zippy, my wife, sometimes is like, I don't know what you see in it too much, but I'm like, no, trust me, like in 20 years, they'll have written, produced, directed like hundreds of hours of content. They're going to be so good at it, and so focused on exactly what works and doesn't work, and they're going to have to like over and over again. And I'm really excited about that generation to become older and make, you know, other kinds of stories, and just by doing it, you know, like. And you're right, it's like you're gamifying. It's on your phone. It's something everyone can do. And at some point, you know, like you're training I'm just very excited about that.
Yeah.
And I think that it seems like you're really interested in the traditional model of like, hey, you'd love to be on an ABC sitcom and be one of the leads on a traditional TV series. But, you know, our worlds are merging more in the way that, like in the traditional linear model, we're having less episodes ordered and the budgets are shrinking astronomically. And so when you do that, and now actually we're doing more global productions. So essentially like you have like CW or Fox is only actually, they used to make a show and they'd own the world rights. Where now, because the budgets are so small and shrinking, they're only owning the U.S. portion of the rights, and these things are becoming a lot cheaper, and their budgets are a lot cheaper. And as you do that, you have to start looking to artists who know how to make content for less money. And that's why I think when you go and say, I'm going to start focusing on long form content on a medium like YouTube, I firmly believe that if you flash, forward 10 years from now, you're probably going to see creators who have mastered long form content on mediums like a YouTube getting opportunities, a lot more opportunities to be on traditional linear media platforms. However, I'm not sure you guys will be as excited about those linear media platforms because I think new mediums will take over the bulk of the viewership model. So I think it's interesting that you desire for like the more traditional route, but I do think there's going to be an interesting hybrid where doing what you're doing and moving into long form will probably put you in the best position possible for where I think the business is going in a couple of years anyways.
That's so interesting.
Well, let's talk about, this is sort of a great segue to one of the hardest things about being a content creator, which you kind of touch upon really, a little bit on TikTok about sort of, reinventing yourself all the way or trying to figure out the next thing, and I'm sorry to say this a little bit, like, this is one of the things that would scare me the most if I were you, okay? Like I've been doing YouTube videos since 2012. And I go to all the events and YouTube throws this and I go to that. And like the people who are still around from like 10, 12 years ago now at this point, it's like very few people are still around. Like I can, like Hank and John Green and like honestly, those are the only people I can think about right now, like off the top of my head, like, like there's a lot of creators who are just like no longer relevant. Right. And who are really struggling, and they might still have millions of followers, but they only get like, a couple thousand views together. One of my, and YouTube for a while used to have this internal stat. I don't know if it's accurate anymore, but this is from a few years ago. They would be like, the content creator has a shelf life of 7 years. 7 years. It's like a whisper, 7 years.
Yeah.
You're making videos, you're going viral, and suddenly your ears like, 7 years. Enjoy it. And it's true though, right? Like there were so many creators, you think back a few years ago, it's like a completely different thing. So like I have my strategy with Pixel Play, that's how I'm dealing with that. And I know a lot of creators, and like, are you thinking about that? Is that on your mind? Are you concerned about that? What is your feeling about that?
I don't know, because I probably should be worrying about that. But like, this always kind of stuck with me like years ago. I think it was actually like one of my ex-boyfriends had said something where it was like, I'm going to mess it up, but it was something like, do you want to be an artist or do you want to be famous? And that always stuck with me because I was like, and I do struggle with this now where it's like, again, like you make videos that you're like, I'm doing this because I want people to like this. Like, not because this is like something that's super genuine to me. Like I wanted to get likes, I wanted to get views. And so it's hard because like when I think of the future, it's like my brain has always been like, I hope that by that time I'd have like created my own show or I would have done this or blah, blah, blah. But
so that's in your mind, you're thinking, and that's what you're thinking about. This is a means to an end where it's like, you're going to sort of like, scale
I think
horizontally
that was always like
to other platforms.
Biggest like daydream ever where, it would be like something gets picked up or this or that. But I think like there is something to, as you're like saying, like keeping the relevancy, and that's hard. It's hard to consistently, do that.
Because in 7 years, you said you're mid-20s now, and in 7 years
23.
you're going to be in your early 30s, right? And your audience, I don't know, like how old do you think your audience is right now on average? No idea.
I don't know, probably around my age.
Around your age.
Yeah,
okay, so they're going to be in their
younger.
early 30s too. Well, actually, it's kind of special for you because then you can grow together. Like I think a lot of creators who have audiences who might be like 15 and 16 and they're in their mid-20s, like that's a big difference, right? Because like a 15-year-old and a 19-year-old, completely different people often,
Right.
Yeah. And that can be a big challenge also to keep those people engaged in your community once they sort of follow you. So it's cool. I've never heard somebody really have their audience be kind of the exact same age.
Yeah.
I do love the note of like, do you want to be an artist or do you want to be famous? And I think and by the way, it's like, yeah, there's a stigma to both, but like being just 100% honest with yourself, I think is really important. I mean, I have a lot of actors that I met, and it's like they say they want to be an artist, but if they're being really honest with themselves, they want to be famous and they want to have a lot of money, right? And honestly, I don't have an issue with that, but I do need the person to be honest about what it is that the desire is. And if you want to be an artist, amazing, right? Like I lean into that, but then like you have to be fulfilled when you're in a black box of 40 people in Iowa, doing it for no money, right?
Yeah.
Like,
or even doing TikToks, like, and slaving
Yeah.
away, you lose
Right,
sleep,
yeah,
and then it
right.
takes like 3 or 4 years to be able to like earn enough to pay rent and just be able to live, as opposed to like be able to live,
right.
Yeah.
That's so true. Right. Yeah. And I think that it's just, but I think one of the biggest pitfalls I see is like people are just kind of lying to themselves about what the actual thing that they desire is, or the North Star is for them. And I think you seem to have a really good head on your shoulders of what you want to do and what you're doing. And I think that's really great.
Thank you.
We're almost at time. Thank you for spending like the last hour
my
with us.
pleasure.
Is there anything, particularly, that you wish you knew today as a content creator, that anyone who wants to create their own TikTok, YouTube channel, whatever it is, you would love to sort of pass on, like something you didn't expect about, the journey, the process, something you wish you'd known years ago?
I mean, I'd say it's a pretty lonely process. Like, to do it, it's very much like, at least in my experience, like lonely in the sense of being like, I think why it worked for me is, again, like what we've been talking about. Like I maybe have a brand or a certain thing that was like unique to me. And like, similar to like Pixel Playhouse, like that is unique to you. That is like what you do. It's like, so I think all that helps. And I think I wish that I would have from the beginning been as like, how do I phrase it? Like, you have to have the confidence to be like, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I think I wasted so much time being like, I'm too afraid, and if a video doesn't do well, people aren't gonna like me or this or that. And like, I still struggle with that, of course, but like, you have to just be like, fuck it. Like, you know what? It's TikTok. Like, I always have to say, I'll be like, it literally is TikTok, and a video of a cat is gonna be more famous than me, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. And it's like, but there's something to that, to just being like, I know who I am. I'm putting out something that is me, and I'm just gonna do it. So I think I like, because I spent so much time like trying to get likes and this and that, but now I'm at like that place where it's like, if it's not me, I'm not putting it out, because it won't really serve me in the long run. Like, maybe for a little bit. Yeah.
And that's how you will stay out of the 7-year content creator sort of cycle.
I
right
hope
there.
so.
And if you don't mind me just sort of adding to this as well, like my favorite advice to new content creators is, and this is a little bit of a pragmatic perspective, but like it's how I got started too. I think Tony Robbins has this like saying, like, success leaves clues. So if you look at creators that you really admire, like some people come to me sometimes like, hey, how can I get started with content creation? I'm always like, find 3 or 4 creators that you really love, okay? And they don't have to be in your niche. They can be about cooking or whatever it is. Like, it can be completely different, right? Find what you like, find them. Think about, what do you love about them, okay? Like, what is it that makes this kind of attractive to you? And then take that and then make it your own, like, and that will always, and some people call that stealing. I'm not really sure. It's filmmakers do it all the time. You watch Steven Spielberg movies, and Steven Spielberg's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, and yet he does very classic blocking, the way he does scenes. Like, it's very John Ford. It's all these kind of like those kind of directors, because that's what he grew up with. And so he's kind of like takes that language and does it through his filter. So like, find creators you like, do what they were doing. If you take 5 different creators, you take a little bit of the personality there, the content structure there, you put it together, it will always be original, always be yours. And that's I think that's, because sometimes people don't know where to get started. So many people say, I just don't know what to do, and that kind of stuff. Well, just find what works and find what you like, and then put it together, and then it'll be original.
Yeah. Finding what you like is so important. I think that was really well put.
And to find it so early, like you did on that stage, is awesome.
Yeah. That was just like, yeah, I'll never forget that. It was a cool moment.
Well, thank you, Elena.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Appreciate it,
Elena.
guys. Yeah.
Awesome meeting you.